Anyway, so I want to start today about TikTok and the strategy associated with that. Can you just describe what the ABC's purpose is with regards to having a TikTok platform at all, and how it differs from the rest of services delivered by the ABC?
So, Senator, it's important that we're there for all Australians. We need to make sure that for distribution purposes that we are where our audiences are. Our third-party reach has gone up year on year recently by some 20%. I'll confirm that on notice. Part of that is effectively audience behaviour for what is vertical video, whether it be TikTok or Instagram Reels. And so we make sure that we have some content there so people know who we are, they know the ABC, they know what the ABC stands for, they can interact with our stories, and it's not necessarily there for specific demographics. There are lots of people that are using short-form video. We don't put everything there, but we want to make sure that people know who we are, and it's awareness as well as for reach.
Yeah.
With the intent that people come back to our own platforms as opposed to being on a third-party platform. Yeah,
I mean, is it predominantly to access that younger market, sort of teenagers, early adolescents?
That's certainly where the larger growth has been in the demographic across the country, with growth of usage of those services, but it's not limited to it being just a youth strategy.
Okay, because I guess one of the concerns around the TikTok platform and the people that do use it, what's the ABC's guidelines around the usage? Because when you do think teenagers, adolescents, they're a little bit more malleable in their thought processes. They're, is it more stringent than, a news guideline would be? Because obviously the content is different.
Our editorial policies apply regardless of where the distribution of the content is. It's just as much as they would on TikTok or Instagram Reels as they would on YouTube as they would on our own platforms. For us, for what is our published content, yes.
Okay. So I want to come to digital reporter Amal Weeby, I think that's how you pronounce her name, who put a specific post up on the BDS movement. I'm sure I don't need to describe what that is to anybody else, but, it's clearly...
You have to Google it, yeah.
Oh, boycott, divestment and sanctions. But it's it's obviously a Palestinian-led movement to force individuals, companies to disassociate themselves with Israel through economic attrition. This video explained the BDS movement, why people are on board with it. There was no challenge to it. There was no alternative opinion or critique of the movement. I mean, is that appropriate on TikTok?
Senator, a story on the BDS movement is a legitimate story. When that particular story came to our attention, we took a look at it. We decided that it didn't meet our standards and that it didn't have an alternative perspective that was in the story.
Well, and that's a big problem because it didn't have anything.
Certainly. So I'm admitting that it wasn't good enough to begin with. That story then was not made public. It was hidden. The story was updated to provide that perspective and then made public again.
Yeah. We are in the middle of a conflict in the Middle East. Israel was attacked on the 7th of October. Yet we've still got ABC producers thinking that it's appropriate to fundamentally promote activist and anti-Semitic propaganda. What is I'm going to come to specific guidelines a little bit later on the Israel-Gaza situation. But is it the view, and I'm not asking for you personally because I think you would not be a supporter, but is it the view, particularly within some of these elements, that BDS is a legitimate thing to promote? Anti-Semitism is okay to promote, particularly to a vulnerable audience?
Senator, our position is not to promote these things, but I think the spread of the BDS movement is a legitimate story for the ABC to do on any platform. It was originally intended as a short profile of one person who'd become part of the movement. However, the ABC felt that it did require more context and it was updated to include that context as well as a different perspective.